If people compare Vegas to dreams, then Primm is the first gateway to entering that dream. So when the whole country started panicking about a gloomy summer in Las Vegas, empty hotels, deserted casinos, Primm had actually been speaking up for a long time. Between the Nevada-California border, Primm was once a way station of hope, where millions stopped to fill up with gas, buy their first lottery ticket, or simply see the bright lights and believe they're about to touch luck. But now, all that remains is silence. The outlet stores are closed, the parking lots are empty, and the Welcome to Nevada signs are now just remnants of a once vibrant dream. Primm isn't just disappearing, it seems to be becoming a warning. When the gateway to dreams goes dark, people begin to realize that the collapse of a small town is sometimes a harbinger of what awaits in the distance, even in Las Vegas itself, which once symbolized America's inexhaustible aspirations. In today's video, we'll explore the real story behind this gateway to Vegas. Why did Primm, which once welcomed millions of visitors, become a ghost town? And is this a warning for Las Vegas, as America's biggest dream begins to crack right at its doorstep? There was a time when people would queue for hours just to experience the American dream speeding through the desert, on the legendary Desperado roller coaster at Buffalo Bill's Resort and Casino. With millions of Americans driving along Interstate 15, it's the most exciting moment, as if just a little further, the dream is within reach. Located in Primm, Nevada, right on the border with California, Buffalo Bill's is only about a 40-minute drive from Las Vegas. But for those coming from the West, this is not just a stopover, it is the gateway to miracles. Every time the giant neon lights of Buffalo Bill's appear, people say to each other, "We're almost in Vegas. Keep going. The dream is right in front of you." Opened in 1994, Buffalo Bill's was once the brightest icon of Primm, a massive complex that rose from the desert, featuring 1,242 hotel rooms, a casino spanning thousands of square meters, and the star of the desert arena, which could accommodate over 6,500 people, bringing audiences just steps away from country music stars like Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw. For millions of visitors, Buffalo Bill's was once a mini Vegas, a place to rest, try your luck, or simply breathe in the vibrant atmosphere of lights and hope before truly entering Las Vegas. Many still call this place the opening act of the American dream, like taking a sip of a light cocktail before entering a lavish party. But today, that light only shines brightly in memory. Buffalo Bill's is slowly becoming a relic of the past, lying dormant in the Nevada desert like a forgotten artifact. For those who stopped here in the 90s or early 2000s, those memories now only live on through a few old photos. The distant sound of country music, the scent of perfume in the casino, and the clinking of slot machines mixed with the cheers of victory. Although it was reportedly closed in July, strangely enough, if you visit Primm today, you can still go inside. The empty corridors, dusty thick carpets, and the sound of wind whistling through broken window panes gave the entire building an eerily enchanting beauty. A few slot machines were still lit up, but the entire restaurant, shops, and exhibition areas were closed. Even though there were no more guests, the lights were still on, the elevators were still working, as if the building hadn't yet accepted its fate. Stepping into Buffalo Bill's now feels like you're transforming into a character in a horror movie, wandering through a luxurious, haunted house forgotten by time amidst the desert. Actually, saying Buffalo Bill's is completely closed isn't entirely accurate. Occasionally, the venue still opens temporarily for large performances or events at the star of the desert arena. But aside from those rare nights, most of the time the building remained silent, like a giant body that had stopped breathing. The cause of this decline is not a single event, but a slow-motion domino effect. After the pandemic, the number of visitors dropped sharply. Business operations only managed to hold on during rare weekends. Meanwhile, a series of new casinos and resorts are springing up in Southern California, making it no longer necessary to drive all the way to Nevada. And as tourism in Las Vegas slowed, Buffalo Bill's, which was merely a dependent commercial satellite, was also gradually left behind. It was all like a sandcastle with the first brick removed. as the exclusive experiences that once made it famous, from the Desperado roller coaster to the lively atmosphere outside Vegas, disappeared. So did the appeal of Buffalo Bills. Tourists stopped visiting, leaving behind memories of this place that are gradually being buried under the dust of time. A visitor once shared their memory. When my wife and I were first married, we used to drive out from Lancaster and spend a couple of nights at Buffalo Bills. It was the only getaway we could afford. We'd play two $6 and spread limit hold'em, eat at Tony Roma's, and see how far we could stretch the few dollars we had. One trip, I won enough to buy a propane grill, which I still have today. And on that same trip, our daughter was conceived. She just turned 18. Buffalo Bills was once a place where generations sowed the seeds of memories, where they believed the American dream, however small, could still sprout from a night of fun, a game of cards, or simply a cherished memory. But today, the emptiness there is, as if those very people have lost a part of their soul, the part that was once connected to the belief that life could be better. 31 years. A long enough time for a resort to become legendary, but also long enough for a legend to become forgotten ruins. Primm is still steeped in an atmosphere of decline today. The parking lots are empty, the outlet stores are dusty, and for lease signs hang limply in the wind. Despite occasional renovation efforts or rumors of revival plans, the atmosphere here remains heavy, as if the entire town has fallen into a deep sleep. Can Buffalo Bills be revived? Or is that remaining light just the final reflection of a fading American dream, along with the town that was once the gateway to paradise Las Vegas? There was a time when Primm Outlet was the liveliest stop on the journey from California to Las Vegas. Located right next to I-15, in the middle of the vast desert, this place was once considered the ultimate gateway to the consumer dream, where people could buy a pair of Nike shoes, a Coach bag, or a few outfits from H&M at a bargain before entering glamorous Vegas. With millions of visitors, stopping by Primm Outlet is almost a rite of passage for a dream vacation, resting, having lunch, and buying a few items to get into the spirit before entering shopping paradise. Inside the shopping area, the atmosphere was as lively as a small festival. Families flocked to the food court, blending into the music from the shops, mixed with the laughter of children. It's an image of an America that believes happiness comes from abundance, where each item purchased symbolizes the joy and effort of a long journey. Amidst the 40-degree heat of the Nevada desert, Primm Outlet still shines like a consumer oasis, where people can find simple joy in snagging a bargain before entering Vegas, the city of dreams and opportunities. However, today that scene only exists in nostalgia. After being renamed Primm Outlet, the once famous shopping center is now just a giant empty shell in the middle of the desert. Long, silent corridors, dusty glass doors and fluorescent lights still on, even though there are no people left. The air conditioning is still running, the sign is still hanging, but the only sound you hear is the echo of your own footsteps in the empty space. The entire mall area looked like an abandoned stage, still lit up waiting for the actors to return, but that performance would never begin again. Walking through the corridors, you can still see the menu boards hanging, the food court tables and chairs neatly arranged, and the faded summer sale posters on the walls. Everything is still in place, as if people just left last night. Amidst the silence, the only light still on was in a small store called Thrift USA, a desolate thrift store amidst a sea of extinguished lights. It's like a flickering candle in a storm, trying to hold on to the last bit of warmth for a place that was once full of life. But Primm Outlet is more than just a shopping center. It was once a symbol of an American belief, the belief that the more you buy, the happier you are. Each new pair of shoes, each discounted bag, was once a symbol of feeling alive, of enjoying life, of getting closer to the American dream. And as the stores closed one by one, leaving only empty walls covered with murals to fill the void, we seem to see an America losing its very soul. A soul once built on faith in prosperity and consumerism. Right at the entrance of the shopping area, the words "Gateway of the Dream" are still boldly painted on the large wall. But now it's no longer a greeting, but a symbol of bitter irony. That dream has faded, and the gateway that once led to shopping, Paradise now opens onto a cold emptiness, where people stop not to spend money, but to gaze into the silence of the past. The collapse of Primm Outlet didn't happen in isolation. When Buffalo Bills fell, this shopping area collapsed along with it like a domino in a chain reaction. Losing overnight guests means losing customers, and losing Vegas means losing the very soul of Primm. The entire Nevada border region, once the gateway to the American dream, is now just an echo of an old dying economy where the lights still shine but no one believes the magic will return. And if Buffalo Bills is where entertainment dreams die, then Primm Outlet is where consumer dreams expire. Both shared a hollow drumbeat, a faint breath slowly disappearing in the Nevada desert. Where there was once a blaze of light and music, now only the wind whispers through empty corridors, like a farewell to the era when Americans believed happiness could be bought with money and with faith. When the gateway to dreams now only opens onto an empty shopping mall, can America still believe that happiness can be bought with money? And if even the places that once symbolized consumer joy fall silent, where will we find the meaning of sufficiency in this empty age? From afar, Whiskey Pete's appears like an ancient fortress in the desert, pale yellow walls, European castle-inspired towers, and the neon sign of a whiskey glass that once shone brightly as a welcome to the first visitors entering Nevada. But today, that fortress is silent. No more music, no more slot machines, just the wind whistling through the wooden windows. A castle in the desert, but no longer with a king, no longer with a welcoming procession, only the wind howling through the watchtowers. Whiskey Pete's was once considered the oldest soul of the Primm complex, embodying the old Nevada style, a place where one could feel the spirit of the Wild West and the pride of the desert pioneers. Opened in the late 1970s, this hotel isn't as luxurious as Buffalo Bills, but it has its own charm. Simple, rustic, and nostalgic. Many travelers once called this the first castle of the American working class, a place where they could stop, have a cheap breakfast, and believe that the journey toward Vegas would bring something better. However, in recent years, Whiskey Pete's has gradually closed its doors. The sign was dusty, the parking lot was empty, and the reception desk was unmanned. According to data from the Nevada Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, the border area of Clark County saw a decrease of over 22% in tourism and service industry employment compared to pre-pandemic levels, making it impossible for many small businesses like Whiskey Pete's to maintain normal operations. The prolonged lack of guests has led to the reopening not being scheduled regularly. The hotel only opens on rare occasions, then closes silently again. The feeling of standing in front of Whiskey Pete's today is a mix of regret and awe. It's a shame for a time when this place was a symbol of American hospitality, and it's shocking to realize that bricks are falling out of the structure of an entire cultural region. Each locked door is not just a space that has ceased to function, it represents several dozen jobs disappearing into silence. There was no grand closing announcement, no crowds of well-wishers, just a quiet, day-by-day process of decline. Whiskey Pete's, from a metaphorical perspective, is the silent fortress of old Nevada, where the region's ancient identity is sealed within thick walls. It not only lost its economic function, but also its symbolic role. The spirit of the West, once proud and resilient, now only echoes in the wind blowing through the bell tower. With each brick that falls, another piece of forgotten memory is lost. The memory of a hospitable America, of honest labor, and of the belief that everyone can start over. What's noteworthy is that this silence didn't just come from Primm. In many other border towns in Nevada, a multitude of small service businesses are facing a similar fate. Roadside resorts that once thrived on car traffic are now operating at only 40–50% of their average annual capacity. As the Vegas Strip prioritizes multi-billion-dollar projects for the elite, neighboring towns, once satellites of dreams, are left by the wayside. Some experts believe the key to revival lies in redefining the value of old Nevada. Instead of chasing the glitz, rekindle the spirit of community and affordable road trips. Brands like Best Western and Motel 6 are experimenting with a heritage revival model, restoring classic motels and roadside stops as a kind of living museum in the desert. If Primm can capitalize on this trend, Whiskey Pete's might still have a chance to return, not as a casino, but as a revived memory. Because ultimately, the question isn't about being open or closed, but something deeper. Is this a building that has ceased to function? Or is it the funeral of an entire border region? And if the fort no longer protects memory, who will stand up to preserve the soul of the Nevada desert? The soul that once made people believe the American dream began right here. No need for a price war. Just shorten the distance and Primm disappears from the map of habits. That's how the convenience revolution has quietly unfolded over the past 2 decades. And it's also how a series of tribal casinos in California have brought down the symbol once considered the gateway to Vegas. When people no longer need to travel far to feel lucky, Primm loses its reason to exist. Take a look at the map of Southern California. A series of entertainment complexes are springing up like Pachanga, Morongo, San Manuel, Yamava, just an hour or two's drive from Los Angeles or Orange County. No longer small local casinos, they have become miniature 5-star resorts, complete with fine dining, shopping centers, and even international standard golf courses. According to the California Nation's Indian Gaming Association, CNIGA 2024, the revenue of tribal-owned casinos exceeded $0 billion, far surpassing the total spending of tourists from Los Angeles to Nevada in the same year. In the new game of the market, the winning mechanism is not about scale, but about convenience. California doesn't need to compete with bright lights or the slogan, "What happens in Vegas?" but only with 3 factors: close, convenient, fun enough. Meanwhile, Primm, which relied on truckers stopping by, gradually fell into a far expensive nostalgic situation. That seemingly small change broke a once very American ritual, the weekend road trip. In the past, stopping at Primm was considered part of the journey, filling up with gas, having lunch, trying your luck at Buffalo Bill's or Primm Valley Outlet before heading into Las Vegas. Now, that behavior is gone. Truck drivers, middle-aged couples driving from California, or groups of young friends who love the road trip feeling are now only driving straight. A 55-year-old truck driver briefly shared, "Back in the day, I used to stop at Primm to rest, but now I drive straight through to make my delivery on time." That seemingly simple phrase was the obituary for an entire mobile culture, where stopping was no longer part of the experience, but a waste of time. As the supply of joy becomes localized, gateways like Primm lose their role as filters for visitors. Once welcoming millions of people each year, it is now an empty buffer zone between 2 worlds. The ultra-luxurious Las Vegas on one side and self-sufficient California on the other. According to a report by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA 2025, the number of tourist vehicles from California traveling on Interstate 15 decreased by over 27% compared to the 2015-2019 period, and the group of spontaneous travelers, those who decide to go at the last minute, almost completely disappeared. This is not just an economic lesson, but a shift in how humans define happiness. The younger generation, who grew up with smartphones, delivery services, and on-demand entertainment, no longer feel connected to the sense of conquering the open road. Everything becomes flat, convenient, but also more impersonal. When joy is programmed to be just enough, there's no room for surprise. However, there is still a way out if Primm learns to become a destination rather than a stopover. Some major tourism corporations like Marriott International and Wyndham Hotels and Resorts have begun experimenting with the Experience Rest Stop model, a combination of small resorts, interactive museums, and experiential tour routes. If reborn in that direction, Primm could once again become a place that evokes the memories of the open road, not competing in size, but in emotion. Because ultimately, the question isn't just how to keep tourists coming back, it's how to preserve the habit of stopping and looking around. Is convenience eroding our collective memory? And as things get closer, Are we actually growing further apart? Not just on the map, but in the very journey of life. As the last lights of Buffalo Bill's flickered across the Nevada desert, as the glass doors of Whiskey Pete's reflected their own image in silence, and as Primm Outlet was left with only the sound of wind whistling through empty corridors, it became clear that Primm had faded, not due to a storm, but due to being forgotten. Once the gateway to Las Vegas, Primm is where people stop to refuel, have lunch, try their luck, and believe their journey has meaning. But then the age of convenience came into its own. Casinos in California are popping up closer, Vegas is becoming more and more luxurious, and road trips are being replaced by carefully planned destinations. Primm didn't lose because of a mistake, but because the era no longer needed pauses. However, amidst that collapse, a glimmer of hope still shone through. If Primm could be reborn, it wouldn't need to return as a gambling hub, but as a living museum of road trip memories, where people stopped to remember that America was once built by those who dared to go far, not just to win money, but to find themselves. If you've ever passed through Primm, please share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so we can revisit the lands where the American dream is fading, and remind ourselves that sometimes the most memorable part of the journey isn't the destination, but the places we've stopped along the way. This video was created for the purpose of analysis, exploration, and reflection based on public facts, statistical reports, and real-world observations. All statements in the video are intended only to provoke social perspectives and human values, and are not accusatory, judgmental, or politically oriented. All information is presented in a summarized and commented format, which may change over time. Viewers are encouraged to verify and compare information from multiple independent sources. We do not represent any organization, business, or government, and are not legally responsible for interpretations outside the original content of the video.